everyone. Welcome to the OTHM Level 5 Extended Diploma in Business Management. First of all, I would like to give the brief overview to you people about the Level 5 Extended Diploma in the Business Management, that what is diploma is all about. So this diploma is a step up for anyone looking to dive deep into what makes the businesses successful, from understanding the finance and managing teams to handling the global operations. So it's all about giving the learners hands-on skills in critical areas, for example, the strategy, marketing, human resource, and business law. So the each unit is crafted to sharpen the decision making of the learners and their leadership abilities, and to prepare them to take on real business challenges with confidence. So in short, this diploma is the perfect setup for anyone aiming to move up in the business world. So this diploma has total 12 mandatory units. The first one is the academic writing and research skill. The second is business operations. The third is communication in business. The fourth is finance and accounting. The fifth is leading and managing teams. Sixth is operating in a global context. Seventh is the principle and concepts of strategy. Eighth is the management of human resource. Ninth is the marketing for managers. 10th is the business law for managers. 11th is the management accounting and decision making, and the last one is the business startup conception to the market. So today we will discuss the first unit, that is about academic writing and research skill. The first learning outcome of this unit is to understand the concept and purpose of the academic research and writing. And the first assessment criteria to understand this learning outcome is to explain what is meant by the term academic research and writing. So first of all, I would try to explain what is academic writing and research. So the academic writing is the full explanatory process of discovering the truth. It involves different things, for example, questioning, hypothesizing, and testing different ideas. So the researcher in the academic writing always dig deep into the existing literature about the specific topic in which he is doing his research. It's all about the challenging the assumptions and validating the already existing information. So the academic research is always grounded in the objectivity. There is no subjective thing. And the researcher needs to remain unbiased while conducting the research. Now we have the second assessment criteria in which we explain the different academic writing conventions. We have different academic writing conventions. The first one is the academic language. It is how we can write in academic way. The academic language is the use of the formal and precise language that is clear, and it always avoid the casual expressions. Then we have the argument flows. The argument flows always make sure that each paragraph is logically followed by the previous one. So it build our argument step by step. Then we have the paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is all about the restating of your information from the different sources in your own words. Then we have the word count. It is important to stick to the word limit while you are writing academically. Then we have the third assessment criteria in which we discuss the different type of the academic research. Then we have the intervention research. Intervention research is all about the specific change or the treatment to study its effect on the outcome. For example, we can implement a new teaching method to study its effect on its outcomes. Then we have the validity and reliability of the research. So the validity refers to check whether the research accurately measure what it intends to measure or not. Then we have the reliability. Reliability refers to the consistency of the results of our research over time. For example, if you are conducting the research and this research is giving some certain results at one time, then it is important then that when we are conducting the same research on the other time, then it should give the same results. If the results are same and the results are matched with the previous results of the same research, then we can say that our research is reliable. So reliability in the research is an important aspect. Then we have the second learning outcome in which we will understand how to conduct the academic research. The first assessment criteria to understand its learning outcome is to compare the different sources of information and evidence. So we have different sources of information. The first one is the journal. We have the different academic journal that provide different articles about different topic to us. For example, there can be a medical journal that can publish the new research on the effectiveness of the vaccine. Then we have another source, that is textbook. Textbook always offer the comprehensive overviews and established knowledge on a specific subject. For example, there is any biology or physics textbook that covers all the fundamental topics in kinetics, or in case of biology, in genetics. Then we have the other source called as conferences. Conferences are basically the events where experts present and discuss their latest research. For example, the research can present his research finding on climate change. Then we have the government data. It includes the statistics and different reports produced by the government agencies. For example, the data of census that can be used to analyze the population growth and demographics. Then we have the second then we have the second assessment criteria in which we explain the research process. So we have very lengthy research process here, you can see in the picture. So the first step is to identify a research question. When we are conducting a research, it is very important to check what we want to find out, and to check this, we have to identify our research question. So the process of the research begins with identifying a clear and focused research question, or it could be a research problem. For example, a researcher start its research with the question, for example, what factors influence the student performance in online learning? This is the research question on which the researcher wants to conduct his research. Then we have the second step called as conduct a literature review. The researcher should review all the existing literature about the specific topic, or about the topic on which he wants to research, and it would help the researcher to understand what is already known about the topic, and it would be easy for him to find out the gap from this topic and add something new on this topic while conducting his research. For example, if we talk about this research question, that what factor influence the student performance in online learning, then literature review relevant to this research question could be that researcher can examine the previous studies on online education and student performance. Now we have the third step of the research, that is developing the hypothesis. Based on the literature review that we have already conducted in the second step, it is important for the researcher to form the hypothesis or prediction. For example, if we continue the same example that we have discussed previously, our hypothesis could be the amount of student teacher interaction positively affects the student performance in the online course. This is just our hypothesis which we can accept or reject when we are when we are ending our research, or when we are completing the research, then we can accept or reject our hypothesis. Then we have the fourth step, that is design the study. So it is important for the researcher to plan that how he will test his hypothesis by selecting the different method and tools. For example, the researcher can decide to conduct a survey of students enrolled in online courses to check his hypothesis. Then we have the other step, that is collecting the data. Now it is important for the researcher to gather the data according to the study design. For example, in our previous example, the study design is survey. So the researcher has to distribute the survey and collect the responses from the students. Then we have the sixth step, in which we analyze the data that we have collected in the fifth step. So in this step, the researcher analyzes the collected data to identify the patterns and relationships between its variables. For example, the survey results of our previous example shows the strong correlation. Now we have the third assessment criteria, in which we differentiate between the primary and So, what is primary research? As I have explained before, that primary research is always about seeking the new information. It includes different processes, for example, collecting the new and original data directly from the sources with the help of different methods, for example, surveys, experiment, or interviews. So, the primary research is always conducted to gather the information that does not already existing. For example, we can conduct a survey to understand the different ideas about the customer satisfaction that are not already existing. Now we have the third learning outcome, in which we will be able to demonstrate the critical thinking skill. First assessment criteria to understand this learning outcome is to explain what is meant by the term critical thinking. So first we have to understand what is critical thinking. So critical thinking is the systematic approach to assess or to evaluate the evidence and the argument about any topic. It is about the questioning the assumptions and analyzing the information from different perspectives. For example, when you are presented with a news article, the critical thinker would evaluate the credibility of the source. He would not believe any news, and he would assess the that what is the credibility of that source. Now we have the second assessment criteria of the third learning outcome, in which we explain different skills of the critical thinking. Then we have the third assessment criteria that would explain that why critical thinking is important in academic argument. The third importance is that the critical thinker always think outside the box, so it novel the insights and breakthroughs by questioning the assumptions. For example, proposing a new theory that addresses different gaps in the existing research. Then we have the fourth importance, that is coherence. Well, it is very important that all parts of your argument are logically connected and they are supported by the evidence to show the coherence of your argument. For example, you can build a cohesive argument in your dissertation. Now we have the fourth assessment criteria of the third learning outcome, in which we explain how to apply techniques to evaluate an argument. So we have different techniques to evaluate the argument. The first is the evidence testing. It is all about to evaluate the argument. Start by examining the evidence provided, and in this testing, we will check if the evidence is credible, sufficient, and relevant. Then we have the validity testing. It involves identifying any logical fallacies or gaps in the reasoning, and it considers whether the argument is based on sound principles or not. To understand this, we have the first assessment criteria in which we explain the key components of a reliable and valid academic argument. So, what is evidence? Evidence is basically the foundation of any academic argument. It includes the different facts, different data, and different research finding that supports your claim. And reliable evidence must be relevant, must be credible, and it must be it must be gathered through the sound methodologies. And without the strong evidence, an argument lacks the necessary support to be convincing, and it would be very difficult for you people to convince your any argument without relevant evidence. For example, you can use the different studies to back up a claim about the effectiveness of a new educational method. Now, what is premise? Premise is the nature of an academic argument. It is the starting point of an argument which represent the fundamental ideas. It is the well-structured academic argument that clearly states its premises. And the nature of the academic argument always involve constructing these premises in a way that logically leads to the conclusion. Now, what is conclusion? Conclusion is always when the logical outcome of the argument derived from the premises and supported by the evidence. And the valid conclusion always follows directly from the premises without any leaps in the logic. It ties together the argument by demonstrating how the evidence support the initial claims. Now we have the second assessment criteria in which we would understand the difference between inductive and deductive reasoning. So, in this picture, you can see the difference between the inductive and deductive reasoning. So, what is deductive reasoning? The first step in the deductive reasoning is that it is based on the existing theory. There is some theory that has already existed, and you formulate your hypothesis based on that theory. So the first step is that any theory is existing, and the second step is that you can formulate any hypothesis based on that existing theory. And in the third step, you will collect the data about your hypothesis. And in the fourth step, you will analyze the data that you have already collected. And in the last and I think, yeah, and I think the fifth step, the last and the fifth step, You will accept or reject the hypothesis that is based on this existing theory. Now, what is inductive reasoning? In inductive reasoning, there is no already existing theory and it is not based on the existing theory. It is basically the specific observation. We observe something and we develop our hypothesis on it. So the first step is that we observe something and then we recognize its pattern and then we draws our conclusion on our observation. That is inductive reasoning. We are inducing something in inductive reasoning, and in deductive reasoning we are deducting something on the basis of this existing theory. Okay, so now in this slide, I will try to explain in a more elaborative way to you people that what is inductive reasoning. Well, you can here see in the picture that I have also uh, explained the difference between inductive and deductive reasoning, as I have explained before that in inductive reasoning we are inducing something. We don't have any based theory. The first step is the confirmation. Like we confirm something, we observe something, then we develop our hypothesis on it, and then we make a theory based on our observations. And in the deductive reasoning, we are deducting the theory. First, we have the theory, we develop the hypothesis, we collect the data and information, and at the end, we will accept and reject our hypothesis. So, what is inductive reasoning? Inductive reasoning always involves making the general conclusion based on the specific data or observation. It always starts with our particular instances and it moves toward the broader generalization, which are likely but not guaranteed to be true. For example, there is a company that notices that their sales increase each time they launch a social media campaign. So, based on this observation, they generalize that social media campaigns boost the sales overall. So, first, they just observe something, they just notice something that their sale increases each time they launch a social media campaign. And by noticing this thing, they generalize the thing that this social media campaign always boosts the overall sales. So now they make the theory from this observation, and the theory is that the social media campaign always boosts the sale. So this is the theory, and this theory is made by their observation when they observe that their sale increases each time when they launch the social media campaign. I hope I made it clear to you people. Now we have the third learning outcome, which suggests an argument structure for a given topic. So here we have the logical argument structure. The logical argument structure have total four things. The first is the introduction. Introduction has the thesis statement and the context background. Then we have premise that has evidence and explanation. Then we have counter argument, and then we have conclusion. Don't worry, I will explain all these things in the coming slides. Now we have premises. In premises, we have the supporting point. So the supporting point for our topic is that the first premise could be that employee training directly improves the job performance. Here you can see also in the picture that the employee training increases and the job performance also increases. And we can also find the evidence of this premises that the researcher shows that the company that invest in employee development see a significant increase in their efficiency and productivity. Evidence is very important to support our argument. Now we have third premise. The companies with strong training programs report the higher profitability. We also have evidence for this that data from the industry report shows a positive correlation between comprehensive training program and increased profitability in the business. You can also see in the picture that a strong training program always leads to high profitability. Again, the evidence is very important to support your point. Now we have the counter argument or rabbit hole. So the training programs are costly and time consuming, potentially diverting the resources from other business areas. And long term benefit of training always outweighs the initial investment. And at the end, we can conclude it. In the conclusion, we will restate our thesis. So, in conclusion, the employee training is not just an optional expense, but it is a crucial investment in the long term success and sustainability of the business. Now we can summarize all the key points that by enhancing the job performance, increasing employee satisfaction, and boosting the profitability, the training programs create the stronger and more competitive company. I hope I explain this unit to you people very clearly. So thank you so much. This is all about the unit one of this level three diploma. And if you have any question, always feel free to ask. Thank you so much.